course, when I said that, a few more people joined.
Yes. Do you see the record button on, Catherine?
Yes, you're recording.
All right, let's get going. I want to welcome everybody to the final of our 6-part series on this fragile earth, our island home. I'm Coty Keller, and we have Catherine D'Amico with us also tonight, as always. This is graduation. We hope to put it all together and see how empowered we are to act on the climate crisis. We got an action-packed agenda tonight. Take about 5 minutes to review, and then we're going to do some polling to see what everyone feels about taking action. The polls, you're sharing your information, will be about 40 minutes tonight. And we'll have 15 minutes of comments and questions. And then we have a survey for you. We have 7 questions we're going to ask you so we can get your feedback on how you think things went and what we can improve on next time. We are already seeing and experiencing the changing climate, and it's going to get a lot worse unless we act. Here's a summary from David Attenborough's timeline. The cause of the crisis is an imbalance in the natural carbon cycle, a crisis created by human activity. We have too many emissions, not enough photosynthesis, owing to deforestation and poor soil management. For about 1 million years, nature was fine. Now, instead of heading for a low carbon dioxide phase, which would put us in an ice age, actually, we have CO2 levels rising in the atmosphere. The carbon in the atmosphere is rising because of emissions of CO2, as well as those from methane, nitrous oxide, and the F gases. Rising carbon in the atmosphere causes increasing temperature because of the greenhouse effect. We call it global warming. Warming is rapidly approaching cataclysmic levels. Root causes in terms of emissions on the left and a lack of sufficient carbon sinks on the right give insight into the solutions. Most obvious is the need to, 1, electrify everything and make the power with zero emission energy. 2nd, we need to overhaul the food system so that it emits less and stores more carbon in the soil. And of course, we need reforestation, lots of trees. Another part of the climate crisis, beyond the imbalance in the carbon cycle caused by emissions and deforestation, is that powerful people and corporations are heavily invested in the status quo. Our solutions must include the means to neutralize and/or overcome disinformation and influence from special interests. We must become nature's biggest ally by taking the bold action we have described in the past 3 sessions. We need to plant lots of trees, reduce the consumption of energy, electrify everything, generating power from non-emitting power sources. We need to improve the food system. We need to transition to a sustainable economy. We need to take constitutional rights away from corporations and control campaign spending. The bottom line is the situation is bad by us. There are solutions, and time is of the essence. Everybody must do their part. each of us as individuals, governments at all levels, acting to take advantage of their position and leverage. Let's explore how we feel empowered to act on the climate crisis. We're going to ask 10 questions in these 7 areas, and then share the results so we can all see how the whole audience is responding. These polls are anonymous. Please don't feel threatened. And please say whatever you feel. Don't hold back.
Okay. I'm going to launch the first poll. And you'll select your answers by clicking on the dot next to the appropriate answer for you. And then on the bottom, there should be a button that says submit, and you're going to want to click on that after you make your choices. And just to reiterate what Coty said, these answers are anonymous, so feel free to answer truthfully and don't be nervous about, everybody publishing the results. All right.
Okay, so this is a single choice question. You just have to pick the one that's your priority. And recall, action in your realm includes your household, business, religious institution, nonprofit you belong to, your condo association or homeowners association, or other organization where you make the decisions or are involved in the decision making.
Okay, we're getting there. Okay, we're almost there. We've got about 28 out of 30 people. 93% of the vote is in. Give it another few seconds for the last 2. And somebody else joined. Oh, a couple of people are joining now too.
Come on in.
If you just joined us, we're doing a poll. Read quick. All right, I'm going to end the polling for this question. And I'm going to share the results. Can you see the results, Coty?
I can.
Okay.
This is very interesting. If I'm reading this right, the consensus would be the 2 highest priorities would be what we eat and waste, with about 28% responding for that, and 34% of the people saying education and awareness. That's really awesome. And it's interesting that the things that you do with your money, like buying offsets and changing and divesting, don't have any interest. But that's really awesome. And several people are interested in buildings, which for Households is about 30% of our energy, and transportation, which can be as much as 30% of our energy use, it's get a little attention, but a relatively small amount. It's interesting to see about 15% of the people are interested in taking action by what they buy as their highest priority. That can have a big effect. We've got to knock off the binge buying. Awesome. Very insightful.
Looks like education and awareness had the highest number.
It did. Mm-hmm.
Coty, are you taking any questions or comments now? Because I see that Keith raised his hand.
Yeah, no, we'll have to wait till the end. We won't have time. We're on a tight schedule.
Okay, so if you want to put a question in the chat, that way we can get back to you if we run out of time. I mean, not in the chat, in the Q&A.
Okay, let's move on. Now, this question may seem quite similar, but this is areas for action in your realms. This is all the areas where you're considering taking action. This is multiple choice. You can select as many as you want. This will help us see which actions in total are the most popular. How are we doing for time, Catherine? Are we doing four minutes?
I won't say I told you so. We're doing pretty good. We're doing pretty good.
I won't yak as much in the wrap up. Okay.
We're getting fast now. We got 31 out of 32. So
people are getting the hang of it. Good.
Right at the minute and a half, I'll end it.
Dynamite.
Okay, let's share the results of poll number 2.
Okay, looks like the most popular one is what you eat and waste. And that can really have an impact on things. The Zen master will be happy. The Zen master says that changing to a plant-rich diet is the most important thing any human being can do to fight the climate crisis. There's good action all across the board. People are interested in buildings, transportation, what you buy, education and awareness. Not only was the highest priority, but it has good support from everybody. I'm having trouble getting down to the bottom of the screen there.
Yeah, if you just scroll inside the actual poll box, you should be able to.
Very good.
Looks like what you eat and waste. What you eat and waste seems to be the highest there.
Yes. And that can have a great impact, perhaps the most impact. It's a very insightful group. All right.
All right, moving on to polling question number 3. I'm gonna launch that one. Which tools may be useful to you for drawing down global warming?
Right.
Is this one choice or as many as you want, Coty?
Multiple choice. Any tools you're interested in that you think might be useful. Technical helpers. Appreciate you all filling these in quickly. This is great.
Yep, we're about 75% right now.
This is tracking well with people interested in what you eat and what you waste. So far, the two books on getting meat out of your diet are the most popular.
Okay, I'm going to end. Everybody submitted. I'm going to end and share the results so everyone can see.
Okay, so the two books on healthy eating or low carbon eating is the most popular with 66% of the vote, and or 66% chiming in for it. Energy factors, which are needed to calculate your footprint from your meter readings. More than half of us are interested in doing that. 45% for carbon counters. And about a third of the people are interested in using iTree to calculate the how much carbon the native plants and forests can put in the soil. That's good. And the My Solutions portfolio is a graphic tool to help you keep track of what you're doing. We spent a brief amount of time talking about the tools in several sessions ago, and then there's in the references section in the catalog for the course, there's more details about these. All right, very good. Let's move on.
Going to, let's see, going to number 4.
We're asking here if you're considering making a formal plan to guide your decision-making and investments in your quest to reduce your footprint. This is a single choice question. It's either yes or no. And don't be afraid of hurting anybody's feelings by answering this. We know that decision-making is one of the most stressful human endeavors.
This is closely tied. It's like a horse race.
Mm-hmm.
I wish you guys could see it before I publish the results at the end.
I think people can see. Oh, I guess people can see. That's right. We have a different screen than the people. Yeah.
Yeah, we can see it coming in, but
Yeah.
they can't see the results until I share it at the end. All right, we're almost there. 93% of you have voted. We've got a couple more. Give it another few seconds.
I see there's a timer up there too, Catherine. You've been looking at that, I guess.
I know, I have been looking at that. Watching the time.
You're doing good.
I feel like there's a couple people that are duplicates that may not be.
Yes,
voting.
that's right. Good. Let's look.
Okay, share results. Here we
Look
go.
at this.
Wow,
This
neck and neck.
This is essentially even here. Some people are going to use a plan, a formal plan, and some aren't. And that's, there's no right or wrong answer here. As I said before, some people can use decision aids. Others find it very stressful to document their decision process. If it's good for you, use it. If it's not good for you, don't.
Okay, moving on to question 5, priority for action in government.
Yes, and now we're shifting over into the government area. At which level is the highest priority for government action? This is a single choice. The one you're gonna select here is what you think is the most important level of government for acting in the climate crisis. And if you haven't formed an opinion yet, don't be afraid to say so. And if you're not interested at all in government action, please let us know.
All right.
It's important.
Oh, now we got 31 out of 32. So I've been cutting somebody off. Okay, I think that's probably everyone's got their vote in. Share the results.
Okay. So we have a pretty good plurality here saying that federal action is the most important. And there's a good argument for that. If we say that federal action also includes the diplomacy that's going to be needed to work with the rest of the countries in the world to get the whole global community on board, that's a pretty good opinion. But of course, without state regulation of electricity, we're going to be in bad shape. Without local governments taking action on building codes and local transportation, we're going to be in sad shape too. So that's good. It's good to see how everybody's thinking right now. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go to question 6, the importance of solutions policies at the local level.
Right. And this is a multiple choice question. In which areas do you believe local government should act?
So you could select more than one answer, right?
That's correct. Anyone that you think. The audience has got the hang of this tonight. People are answering quickly now.
Okay, it looks like we're just about there. Share the results. Wow.
Okay. We have a lot of tree planters here. This is
My favorite people.
Yeah, this is really, well, when you think about it, buildings and transportation, I mean, on a global scale, are responsible for about 6% to 14% of emissions. But landscaping and reforestation can make the difference in getting the carbon out of the air that's already there. And it really is a very necessary ingredient. So it's good to see people recognize that. But it's also good to see that everybody's got a handle on the fact that buildings and transportation are 2 areas that local government needs to tackle. I think this is showing really good insight. Local initiatives can be very important. Good, let's move on.
All right. A few more. Question number 7. The importance of solutions and policies at the state level. Launch this poll.
And this is multiple choice also. You select any areas you believe the state government should act.
All right, we've got about 93% of the vote in. The last choice is cut off for me. I hope it's not cut off for anybody else.
Rooftop solar?
Yeah.
Yes, somebody else raised their hand and said their page was cut off. I don't know what to do about that.
Yeah, I don't know why it's cut off. Well, maybe we can do a manual vote after. All right, I think we've got everybody in. It's 30 out of 32. So I'm going to end and share the results. Well, it seems like some people could see it because they voted for it.
You know, this is the most popular hit here is reducing demand for electricity. And that's really important because unless we reduce our consumption of energy, we're never going to be able to make enough clean energy to replace the fossil fuels. And I'm really glad that people are recognizing that. And also there's good recognition here that rooftop solar friendly rules need to be adopted by the states. Remember, the National Research Lab tells us that we could be generating almost 44% of our whole nation's electrical needs with rooftop solar. It's really important to change the state level policies. Again, the states are the ones who regulate solar and the utilities. And there's good recognition also that we need to mandate the replacement of fossil fuels with non-emitting energy, which is what the low carbon electric portfolio standard is about. This is good. This is really good insights. All right.
Okay, we're up to question number 8.
This is multiple choice also. You want to select each area you believe the federal government should be acting in to reduce emissions, sequester carbon, and improving the food system. This is a little more complicated. This might take people more time, Catherine. I think we're doing very good on time. I'm very interested to see which one is the most popular. It's not going to be a runaway.
No, we got 87% of the vote in, so there's a few more we'll wait for. Me and C think the farm bill.
I'll tell you, that will make quite a difference. Can you imagine if we were not subsidizing fossil fuel industry and big agriculture, and instead we were subsidizing people to reforest and sequester carbon and have healthy food distributed to low-income families?
All right, I think we got 30 out of 32 in. So I'm gonna end the polling and share the results so that everybody can see where we came in.
Well, Catherine, your UNC have signed on with the most popular choice, which is to overhaul the Farm Bill.
We also thought Paris Agreement too.
Paris Agreement, what would we do without the Paris Agreement? I mean, if we don't get the rest of the world on board, we're not going to make it. Okay. Looks like abolishing corporate personhood. About 3/4 of the audience would like to take away constitutional rights from corporations and impose rules on campaign finance spending. And almost 3/4 of the group would like to see putting a price on carbon and returning revenues to households. Which, by the way, I got word that that's a senator is introducing that this week, a bill to do just that in the U.S. Senate. All right. This is good level action across the board for federal action. I think that shows good insight from everybody in the audience that we have the importance of each of these actions by the federal government. All right.
All right. We're
Let's move on. Let's move
we're at
on.
number 9.
Add the hard question.
All right.
Only one choice here, only one answer here. If you're going to do it, which one are you going to do? Which is your preferred method for influencing government?
Okay, we've got 30 out of 32, 93% of the vote in. I think the good news is that no one's saying that they don't plan on trying to influence the government. I'm going to end it and share the results.
Wow. This shows how difficult it is to get people to call their congressman or walk in the lobby. It's not an easy thing to do, and it's understandable. It's also the other extreme. Working in advocacy groups is, by my experience, a really effective way to work with people of like minds to get the word to Congress and other areas. Social media, writing letters to the editor, falls about in the middle with this group. Yeah, I think this helps us recognize this is really a tough business, and it's interesting to see how you find your priorities in this. And let's do the next question now, and we'll see which is the most popular way of doing things, without regard to how influential it is.
Okay. Let's do question 10.
Yeah. Which means are you considering to influence government? based on everybody's preferred means of influencing government, we would think that the most popular one should be working with advocacy groups. And that seems to be leading.
Yep. I just published the results. We got, everybody's in. So, I mean, I think that that makes a lot of sense because I know from working for an environmental nonprofit that a lot of times the feedback we get is that people aren't sure about what their messaging is, how to word a letter, what content should be in it, what should they say when they call, what the conversation should be. So a lot of times I think advocacy groups help draft kind of that language for you. And if you find a group like some of the ones that you've mentioned, Coty, that are aligned with your mission and, you know, your interests, that it makes the process a little bit less scary and a little easier to reach out to government.
Yes, and then there's training involved too. I know that the groups that I work with, we train about how to meet with members of Congress. We practice the meetings, we organize, and it becomes more of a social event also because you're working with like-minded people and you're in it together rather than on your own. But ironically, people in Congress say that one thing that influences them the most is that they get a lot of phone calls, personal phone calls or visits about one issue. Staff members will add those things up and say, you know, we've got a lot of interest on one-on-one contact on this issue. So I think they're all important. They all need to be done. But it's interesting to see how the groups feeling about considering what to influence government. I can see why, for sure, why more people would feel more comfortable working with advocacy groups. Because I've been there myself, and I agree with that. Very good. All right. Well, thank you everybody for sharing your feelings and your thoughts about this. Let me see if I can bring back a slide. Okay. Can you drop that polling, Catherine?
I did. I don't think anybody else should be seeing it. You may have to click on your slide. You're still seeing it?
Yeah, I had to get rid of it. All right. Okay. So now it's time. I would say Q&A, but now that the course is over, maybe you have comments or concerns or complaints. Don't just limit this to questions. We've got about 15 minutes. Let's open the floor for anything you all want to talk about.
So Coty, are we asking people to raise their hands and we'll unmute them, or are we asking them to put questions in the Q&A?
Questions in the Q&A, please.
Okay. So the Q&A is on the bottom of your screen. We've used it at the other sessions. You can just put your questions in there and I'll go through. So let's see. Just looking for what we were up to here. Okay. Judith Ott has a great question. What's the #1 idea for starting conversations and education on our unbelieving family and friends?
Ooh. That's a tough one. Let's read that again.
Okay. What's the #1 idea for starting conversations and education of our unbelieving family and friends?
Yeah.
So I guess climate deniers.
Yeah. The people who do the polling with the Yale climate communications, and psychologists that I've heard from say the most important thing is to start the conversation, and it's very difficult. And then the second thing after starting the conversation is to listen and not go into the dialogue hoping that, or assuming that the outcome is going to be that you're going to change somebody's mind. So it's a psychological treatment of inviting the conversation, listening, and being respectful of the other person's view and breaking the ice, so to speak. And then eventually carrying on until you can reach common ground. It's very much the same concept as Principal Negotiations. There's a book called Getting to Yes that you could Google, and it's a little paperback, and it has a lot of good ideas. But the number one idea is, from what they're telling us from the Yale climate studies, is to start the dialogue. Do not go in with the unrealistic expectation that you're going to change somebody's mind, and listen. Thanks, Judy.
Okay, Susan has a great question. I committed to a plan for looking into investments, but I don't know where to begin. Can you advise?
I'm assuming that this is investments to divest of fossil fuels. I think it's Morningstar mutual funds can help. They now rate funds based on the climate friendliness. So you can actually go in and look for funds that have been screened for either social responsibility or lack of fossil fuels, and see how well they do. I know Marge and I just did that. And there's a lot of good funds that are socially responsible and don't, besides not using fossil fuels, don't buy weapons and things like that.
Okay, Brian has a question. There's a big battle on the southwest shore of Lake Ontario against wind farms. They are very unpopular with certain subsets of the population. I know they just don't get it, and NIMBY effect. They will ruin my view, etc. And I know that this is relates to Long Beach and the South Shore as well, because that was the same issue, putting wind farms out off of our coast right here. So good question.
What's the question? How to overcome the resistance?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, it's also a question in the bird world of Audubon, you know, that wind turbines can have a very negative effect on migrating birds or migrating bats. And there's been a lot of studies on the effects on migrating species. But I know Audubon's stance on it is the negative effect of climate change on bird populations is a much bigger threat than the negative effect of wind farms. So is there similar situations that you know of, Coty, as far as any issues that subsets of the population have with wind farms?
Yeah, actually, Brian brings up a really good point here, because it's, you know, we think about it's hard enough getting to zero emission energy when the fossil fuel interests and the climate deniers are fighting it with disinformation. It really gets bad when it becomes your neighbor who's afraid that his or her view is going to be ruined. So I think it's a question of, or an issue of information. For example, Audubon really did a great thing when they came out and said, listen, bird lovers, I know you're concerned about the wind farms killing birds, but if we don't solve the climate crisis, we're not going to have thousands of dead birds. We're going to have extinct species. That's really moving. So I think what has to happen is we have to, I guess, treat the NIMBYs the same way we would treat the climate deniers as, I don't want to say the enemy, but people who need to be dealt with, and have them, have the general public come to see that the cost of losing your view, whether it be Long Island's, the South Shore of Long Island, or Martha's Vineyard. I mean, think about how liberal people are in Massachusetts. Why don't we have, why did it take decades and decades to get wind farms in Nantucket Sound? Is because the Kennedys and other people like that didn't want their view ruined. It's really, it's kind of disgraceful, Brian. I agree with you. I think what it's, the thing that needs to happen is these people whose view is so important need to come to realize that losing their view is a drop in the bucket compared to the economic and humanitarian crisis we're going to have unless we make the shift. Thanks, Brian.
Okay, let's get through. So we got a lot of questions. George wanted to know, what advocacy groups do you work with, Coty? I thought that might be a good start for people.
Yeah, Citizens Climate Lobby, which is been around for close to a decade. Their focus is working with only Congress. They only work with the legislature at the federal level to put a price on carbon and enact a law that returns all the dividends to the people. Just Google Citizens Climate Lobby. George, if you want, I'll give you the name in an email. Lynn Meyer is the not only the New York State coordinator, but she runs the chapter for Nassau and Suffolk, Nassau and Queens County, and she does a great job. It's a very active group. The other group is Move to Amend, which is a national, similarly nonpartisan group that works to abolish corporate personhood by passing an amendment to the Constitution. We already have 40 members of Congress signing on to co-sponsor the bill that's going to be reintroduced here shortly. Just Google Move to Amend to get the local chapter. Those are the two groups that I work with. Thank you.
All right, and here's kind of a related question from Barry Ham. I would need to be guided on how to get connected with local and state officials, and who would be the best people to affect change.
Say that one again. I was looking at something that popped up on the screen. Sorry.
Sure. I would need to be guided on how to get connected with local and state officials. Who would be the best people to affect change?
Oh, well, at the local level, if you have a city government, it would be the. It depends how the government is organized. Some people have commissioners, others have mayors. At the state level, it's usually in New York State and in Florida, we have state legislators. You can just go online and see who is my representative, type in your zip code, and it'll tell you who your senator and your legislator is. I know that works for both Florida and for New York. At the local level, it's very complex. In Long Island, we pay taxes to three people. I pay taxes to three people. So there's three different governments. We have the village, you have the township, and you have the county. And they all can come to play. I'd work with for the local level, I'd suggest working with the smallest group, either the city of Long Beach or your unincorporated village that you live in. Although really, I think in the town of Hempstead, I think they control building codes. So the building codes would be at the township level. But you can Google your city, your locality, and just ask for the who the representatives and the senators are. And it'll pop up. It should.
Okay, John, we got a couple more. John would like to know what significance will Bill Gates' involvement have on the climate repair effort?
Oh, I mean, I have no way of knowing that. So this is an uneducated guess. I think that Bill Gates saying that the climate crisis is the most important thing for mankind to do because of his influence, that of itself is very significant. I'm hopeful, and I expect that it'll bring a lot more people into the fight. The second thing is that he offers very specific suggestions, which is very good. And most of his suggestions have been incorporated into this 6-week session, particularly the stuff we did for what individuals can do and what the governments can do. Almost everything that we've said, we would find support from what Bill Gates says in his new book. So I'm hopeful that he's going to help us just by getting people's awareness and also by the wisdom that he's imparting and the influence that he's going to exert, not only on individuals, but people in government as well.
All right, Coty, so now I think we just have some nice comments that I'll read through.
Okay.
Feedback. George says, how can we keep this going? Suggestions. And I think we were gonna do a follow-up. It's in the survey. You can put some suggestions on how we should keep this going, everyone.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Barbara said today's the 10th anniversary of the tsunami in Japan and wondering if that's climate connected.
Let me
Terry,
try I'll try to answer that.
Oh, okay.
I say we don't know. I mean, to say that the Fukushima accident wouldn't have happened if we didn't have climate change, I think would be getting out of the ballpark. We've had tsunamis killing people for decades and decades before we had the serious climate problems that we have now. But that's not to say that it's proven that the science says that the frequency and the intensity of these weather events, in the terms of the tsunami, it was the tropical storm behind the tsunami, are becoming more frequent and they're becoming more intense. So the storm could have been bigger than it was, and we could have more of them. So we can't say that it wouldn't have happened if we didn't have climate change. Though. It wouldn't be fair.
Okay. Terry would like to see if the series could be shared with friends on Facebook.
We're not on Facebook yet, but you can go to the website and people can look at the past. We have a catalog of the past recordings, the slideshows, the references, and the sessions that we have quizzes. You can look at the old quizzes too. But just go to the website, tinyurl.com with Greta. And that'll be the link to that will be in the follow-up email you'll get tomorrow night.
And then Karen said, do you think we are preaching to the choir? Do we need to reach out further?
Yes. Well, yes to both. We are preaching to the choir. I can tell by the sympathy in the audience here tonight. I think everybody here is a believer and they want to do something. Do we need to reach out further? Yes, indeed. And if you have ideas for how to do that, please do it. I think that's why a lot of you clicked on the importance of education and awareness, and you're considering action in that area. And I really hope you do it, because we need more. And if you have suggestions about how we can reach out further and how further or future editions of this program can be done, please put your ideas in the survey. And if you don't think about it till tomorrow, send us an email. My email address will be in the follow-up email you'll get tomorrow night and let us know. Very important.
Just a few more comments. Barbara wanted to know if you could send the names and contact info for those advocacy groups as a follow-up.
Yes, the names are in the slideshow for the session we had last time. And if you can't find that, just send me an email in response to the follow-up, and I'll send you. You can just Google Citizens Climate Lobby and move to amend. If that doesn't work, let me know.
And then Mimi said, this isn't a question, but I was amazed at how much I learned. I have incentive to work more on climate change. That's great, Mimi.
That's wonderful, Mimi. That's exactly what we're trying to do. Thanks for the feedback.
And then Ahmad said, congratulations on a successful seminar and shedding the light on how to save the earth and humanity. Special thanks to Coty and Catherine. I will start inquiring. Sorry, I just got to pop up. I will start inquiring about my flat roof solar energy. We'll pick up additional bins for recycling and start making recommendations to friends and families to follow suit. We'll start to study and prepare for my LEED certification. Those are awesome things, Ahmad.
Oh, wow.
We're proud of
Super.
you.
Super. All right. Well, I think at the top of the hour here, is there any? Okay,
That was
everybody.
pretty much it.
Yeah, thanks for the questions and the comments. And most of all, thank you for participating for the last 6 weeks. We really appreciate it. So we need your feedback. As soon as we end the webinar now, you should be taken right away to a brief survey when you leave the webinar. It should take it right to a browser to do the survey. So that doesn't happen. I don't know. Get back to me with the follow-up. But anyway,
If that doesn't happen, we'll send you a survey.
that's right. Thanks to everyone for participating in the program. This is an important issue, as you all have said, and we hope to have added to your knowledge, your motivation, and capacity to act on the climate crisis. Good luck, God bless, and stay healthy and safe, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
And here's hoping the survey comes up when I click this end here.